Hi everyone, my name is Ian Gibbs. I'm the Director of Data Leadership and Learning at JICMAIL, and I'm going to be walking you through a training module on how to read our JICMAIL data tables in Excel. As a reminder, we would recommend accessing the data via Telmar, Choices or IMS to enable you to build customizable JICMAIL target audiences. And our existing training modules walk you through how to use these systems. However, there's still plenty of planning insight that you can take from our pre-formatted Excel tables. Now, in terms of how you actually extract insight from JICMAIL, we recommend that you go through our previous training modules. This module is purely going to be around how we actually read the data and what's actually within these Excel tables. You'll notice a number of tabs. The first two tabs contain audience data. So this is from our audience database. It's a person-centric database equating to 26,710 responses, which has been grossed up to population figures, so 65.6 million people in the population. You'll notice that down the sides, we have our type of mail. So mail category, we have addressed advertising, which is DM, door drops and business. Those three aggregated together form commercial mail. We've got mail type here, so whether it was a sort of addressed letter, parcel, leaflet or flyer. If you scroll down further, we break down the data into industry categories, so sender type for addressed. We also have data on mail content for addressed mail. If you scroll down further, you can see same information again for door drops, so industry category for door drops. If we scroll down further, you have got information on mail content type. So that's your mail content type in the rows. In the columns, you start off with information on wave, so the period of field work, but also this is where we have all of our demographic variables, so gender, age, detailed age breaks by gender, household size, whether it's a multi-person or single-person household, whether there are children in the household, whether people live with their family or friends. We've got region, which will be split out into ITV regions soon, urban, rural, social grade, and the type of home ownership. And we'll also have mosaic and acorn groups in here as well. As I said, I recommend going through our earlier modules just to understand what each of these metrics mean. But the core application here in this chart is to look at the index, so look at how likely someone is to be exposed to a mail item. So for example, with DM, we can say that of a target audience of men, an index of 78.76, they're essentially 22% less likely than the average UK adult to be exposed to DM. Women are 20% more likely. That's how I'd read this data. The second tab along relates to frequency data, and literally there's only one number you can see in each cell here, and that is simply frequency of exposure. The data is laid out in exactly the same way. But what we're seeing here, for example, for women, we're seeing an average frequency exposure for DM of 4.18, for door drops 2.76, for business mail 4.66. And again, all the demographic information is laid up across the columns and mail type down the rows. So that's the first two tabs, that's audience data. The next few tabs relate to item data. So again, this isn't person-centric data. So just as a reminder, the item data set is a mail item-centric data set of 56,753 mail items across DM, door drops and business mail. That's going to go up close to 70,000 items as of next quarter. The data is laid out in a very similar way to the audience data in that you've got mail type and category in the rows, and in the columns you've got all your demographic variables. But the key addition, if you scroll along, you will see that we have information on mail actions. So we have immediate physical actions, so actions that take place on the first day that mail items received. We've got follow-up actions that take place at any other point over a 28-day period. And then we've got the two combined, so total physical actions. And then we've got exactly the same view split out for commercial actions, so immediate, follow-up and total. In terms of how you read this data then, I would recommend looking at the row percentage. So for example, if we were to look at this row percentages for addressed advertising, this tells us that 2% of DM has driven someone to buy something or make a donation. 3% of DM has prompted the use of a voucher code. 11% of DM is discussed with someone else. It might be more useful if you started cross-tabbing this with content type, for example. So if you were to scroll down, just as a reminder, you've got industry category data here, and you've got content type below it as well. So what this is telling us is that, so we've got DM that contains information about products or services. Well, 10% of that is discussed with someone else, and so on and so forth. The next tab contains exactly the same type of information, but it's just orientated the other way, so you can cut and paste the data more easily. The next tab along, we have item reach. So again, this data is laid out in exactly the same way, but the numbers you're seeing here are item reach. So just as a reminder, dressed advertising has an average item reach of 1.14. This means that the average piece of DM doesn't just reach one person in the home, it reaches 1.14 people. There's an additional reach of 14%. Door drops 1.05, business 1.18. And you've got that broken out for all your different demographic variables and mail types. You also have item frequency. So this is a commonality between the item data set and the audience data set. And then finally, you have item lifespan as well. So looking at the average amount of time that mail items are live in the home. And that's an overview of how the data is laid out in our Excel tables.